Hi everybody, it's Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live number 146, I think. And today we're going to talk about pulled chest, high larynx, why it hurts your high notes. Hi everybody, I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing, and this is my live show that I do every week. And as you never want to do on a day where you're doing your show, I updated my Microsoft Windows 10 software. Now I'm only working on one monitor instead of two. It's a smaller monitor. I've got the camera in a different place. I can't hear anyway. So just let me know if you can hear me and see me. That's going to be the big question here. I was a minute late today. I apologize. And hey, Andy, nice to have you here. Andy Gomez, please let me know if you can hear me and see me. So thank you for joining today. And I want to make sure that everything is working audio-wise. Oh, I got to turn this off. Okay. So that should be better. Hi, everybody. I'm Chuck Gilmore. Hey, Melody, you make it back to Idaho, all right? Glad to see you there. So, okay, so I can, Melody says I can hear, and that's what I'm wanting to know about. So I'm going to just make this a little bit wider. I can hear and see, and so that's what we want. Music is a bit loud. So the music should be off now, guys. If the music is not off, let me know, all right? Okay, so how's everyone doing? Hey, Ian, nice to have you here. Andy, thanks for the feedback. Atticus Walker, music's a bit loud. It should be better now. In fact, I'm hoping that I closed down that music altogether. Okay, so when I was young, so let's talk about this for a second. Yep. Great. Melody, you guys, I had the great privilege of meeting Melody in person. She was right here in my studio yesterday, and we had a great time. And she now lives only about, about 3 hours away from me. So it was great to meet you, Melody. Okay, music's off. I'm just not getting feedback from anyway, I updated my software, and now my speaker is not functioning quite right, but I'm looking at data on the screen, and I'm hoping that it's working. And so, okay, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what is pulled chest, high larynx, and when I was young, not when I was young. Until I was about 43 years old, I didn't know that I was pulling my chest voice. I didn't know what that meant. And basically what it means is that as I sang higher, I started pulling up the low voice, pulling up my chest voice into a higher and higher place. And that caused everything to kind of start squeezing, and my voice finally gave out at about the E above middle C. I could usually sing the E, but the F, if I sang that, I would go on the falsetto. I couldn't sing it out without yelling, and I knew that was not. It didn't feel good first, but it was bad for the listener. And so I was in a show. I was auditioning for a show in high school, and it was Carousel, and I would have loved to have played the lead because I had the lead role the previous year in Camelot as King Arthur, and so I was interested in doing the lead, but I couldn't sing high enough to sing Billy Bigelow's Soliloquy. That's the big song. And he's got some great songs in that show, but he ended on an F, and I couldn't do that. And so I didn't even audition for it. And so I really was limited, and I limited myself, and I was wise to do that because I just had to yell it. Although they double cast it, and the other guy, well, I'm not going to say anyway. Anyway, my best friend got the lead role in one cast, and he was fantastic. And he and I were in the same cast. I was cast as Enoch Snow, which is a supporting lead, and that was fun, and we had a great time. It was a wonderful show. But I found out years later that I could sing higher if I didn't pull my chest voice up. Because I thought that I was at the top of my voice. I thought there was an end, and the end was where I would break into falsetto. And come to find out, that was not right. So I'm breaking all the rules today. I have a black shirt on. I'm, you know. Okay, so let's pull chest high larynx. And it affects your high notes for a lot of different reasons. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how it affects the high notes and what you can do to get better high notes, even though you might have that vocal type. All right. So Atticus, everything. Andy, do you know that you? Let me see. Hold on a second here. My comments are kind of going off the screen. So I've got to allow a little bit more space there, and oh boy, okay. All right. Okay, so Andy says, do you know you have 60,000 subscribers? Yes, you guys, thank you very much. It happened about a week ago, and I'm already getting close to hitting 61,000, so thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm gratified that you're finding that the information that I'm sharing on my channel, Power to Sing, is helping you. So thanks for mentioning that, Andy. Ian Erickson says it used to be the same for him as well. You know, about 90% of the world is pull chest, high larynx. Melody, you're not necessarily that. You're more of a light chest, no chest, which we've talked about. And I find that to be very common also. In a lot of the tests, vocal tests that people send me, it's either, many times, it's either pull chest, high larynx, or the light chest, no chest voice. I would say that's probably the second most common that I hear where people send me their vocal tests. Anyway, it's important because now we know what exercises we can use for our voice. Hey, very nice to have you here today. And Monica, Eugene, hi, nice to have you here. Percy Jackson says, Siri wants in on this. I'm going to turn her off there. Percy says, hi Chuck, your exercises really help, but I'd like to ask, how can I be consistent? Some days I can do exercises with ease, but some days I can't feel the voice opening. Percy, how old are you? Can you let me know? Let me know your age, and I am guessing you are a male. Mohammed, hey, nice to have you here, Mohammed. Please say when you want to have live before it in Instagram. Yeah, you know, I don't do a really great job promoting this, Mohammed, but every week at this time I go live, and I've done it about 146 times in a row, and I'll continue to do it. So even if you don't hear from me, you can expect a live broadcast on this day at this time. And in my state, where I live in the United States, it's at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And I know that's different all over the world, but so I'm guessing that's what you mean by let you know. Let me just see here. It looks like part of the message got cut off in the Instagram or... Let me see, is there more? Okay, I don't see it. Okay, I started out as pull chest, flip falsetto. Okay, Melody, I didn't remember that. So now I'm light chest. It changes as you start doing the exercises. Yeah, and Melody, here's the bad news. When your vocal cords really get together and start being very consistent, you're going to find that you're going to need to probably start doing those pull chest high larynx exercises again to help. Now, because once we get the vocal cords to adduct firmly, then the bridge really starts to present itself, and so you have to start doing some exercises to help you in the bridge there. So, Percy, you might still be experiencing the end of your vocal change. I've had students as old, well, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, that area there, and they're still struggling a little bit after having gone through the vocal change. So the consistency can be any number of things. And all of us, this all applies to us. I live in the desert, and it's very warm, very dry in the summertime especially. It's dry year-round. In other words, we have very, very low humidity. And so it's probably, I would guess the average is somewhere in the 20 percentiles, 20 percentages of humidity. And however you say that, I don't know, would be best. But as a result, it's a very dry environment, and that makes my voice less consistent. It depends on how much sleep I get. If I don't get enough sleep or I get to bed late, then it creates a less consistent voice, and there's scratching or it's easier to break. Acid reflux affects my voice and many others. I saw a student, the other day someone said to me they were just diagnosed with LPR, which is laryngopharyngoscopic. Anyway, it's reflux. It's called like the laryngopharyngeal reflux, and it's kind of a silent reflux. You don't even feel it. It's not the kind you wake up with a burning, throat or burning chest. It just kind of simmers in your voice. That's what I have, and that can definitely affect your consistency. And so there are some things that are kind of outside of just doing the exercises and doing them correctly that introduce this inconsistency or this variability between days. And part of that could be still your age. But that really starts to resolve itself around now. I find that when I've had some of the young men return around age 21 or 22, and it's a big difference. Well, what was hard for them is not nearly as hard as it used to be. They're able to get up into their head voice without cracking, and when they're doing the exercises that I'm giving them. But when their voices were still a little bit on the vocal change pathway, it was really hard to find the consistency. So without hearing how you're doing the exercises, those are things that are consistently true for everybody, for all the young men. And then sort of maybe you're doing the exercises differently or something. Allergies are another factor as well. Well, let me see. Melody, same. Okay. All right. So a comment from Monica asks, how can I send you my vocal test? So Monica, are you talking about the vocal test that's on the homepage of my homepage, powertosing.com? Because you can just email it to me. You record it, and then it'll give you the option to email it to me, or it'll email it back to you, and then it'll give you. So you take that test, and when you take the test and email it, it'll send it back to you and give you an algorithm, and you can total up you can total it up and then select the number of answers, and it will tell you, it'll tell you whether you're pulled chest high larynx or light chest, no chest, or flip falsetto or mix. The other option is then just to send me the recording, and you do that with the SpeakPipe app on the front page of powertosing.com. So everyone, if you haven't taken your vocal test and know your vocal type, there is a PDF in the description below this video, and it's entitled "Get My Vocal Type." And so it's just got the links to everything. It's got the links to the vocal test, which is on the front page of powertosing.com. It's got the links to videos about your vocal type. It's got the links to the exercises for your vocal type. And so it's very convenient. It's fast and easy. So you can fill that, click on that, request the PDF. It'll come in the email, and then you've got that to just click on the links. So that should work for you, Monica. That I get dozens every day. So Elmer official, do we have to sing in a yawning position? No. In fact, we don't talk that way, so why would we want to sing that way, right? Just like we don't want to always have to use the bratty nay, nay, nay. We don't talk that way, so why would we sing that way? Those are exercises that are used temporarily to help us, and I can go into that here in a second. So Andy's comment was that the videos really help you, and thank you, Andy. I'm glad, and that's the intent, is to provide some help. Percy says, there is a big difference between last year and now. I can sing high notes easily. Last week I discovered your channel and did pull chest exercises. The change in my voice was obvious. Thanks. So Percy, the more closely you can do the exercises as the demonstration shows, you're probably going to have the ability to be more and more consistent. And I would recommend that you record yourself practicing and then listen back. You'll be surprised, I think, that there's sometimes you're not doing them as well as you thought, or as right as you thought you were. Also, the other thing that helps generally everybody is lower the volume. Don't do them quite as loud. Okay, just strong enough to maintain the chord connection. You don't want to go in the falsetto, so just strong enough to keep the chords connected, but otherwise don't do them so loud. And I think you'll also find progress will be faster and you'll be more consistent. So Monica says, thanks. Thank you, Monica. Percy, again, should I stop doing the exercises when I feel my voice is not working that day? No, not necessarily. But maybe you want to skip the one that's maybe not working well for you. Usually it's something, unless it's, for me, if I have like really kind of a bad reflux day, I might wait to a different time of the day. That also affects how my voice feels. So I find it's a little bit better. Probably most people feel this way, a little better later in the day rather than first thing in the morning. But you might just wait a different time of day, Percy, and take a kind of experiment with that. Mohammed says, Chuck, I'm 20 almost. I want to know when the vocal change will be completed, and I can have access to all the notes completely. Now I have these notes, C2 so you can get way down there, Mohammed. C2 is way low. I can't do that. I can hit the E2 to the G4. That's pretty darn good. Can't count the complete head. So, yeah. So, Mohammed, I'm guessing that probably you should be able to start access. You should be able to. It's not that you don't have to wait to a certain age. I've got boys that are that come to my studio right here that are 14, 15, 16. I've had I've had them younger than that, of course, but that's when they're 13-year-olds or their voices are changing. So we start working on it now. We start doing the exercises now to get that head voice is to get the head voice I used to have to open back up again. But it's not fast and it's not easy when they're going through a vocal change because it changes from day to day. So you can start now for sure. And again, it sounds like you probably are going to be needing to do the exercises for pulled chest, high larynx. This is what this is about today. I want to get to the main topic here, but I want to be sure and get everybody's questions answered. Thiago, hey, nice to have you here. To remove the tonsils, removing the tonsils help to reach higher notes? No, I don't think so. But it does help you feel better, and it helps you stop getting sick all the time. I had mine out when I was 4, so I didn't have the problem. But I was sick all the time. I got strep throat all the time when I was little. With the head voice, it's C2 to C5. Yeah, so Muhammad, I don't know whether when you say C5, if that's falsetto or if that's head voice. If you've got head voice, which is a connected tone, you're good to go, man. That's awesome. But if it's falsetto, then yeah, you need to start getting on the exercises so that you can have a connected head voice tone up there. Melody says, doing the exercises the right way makes a tremendous difference. I have to start recording myself. I know that'll help. That's been some of my most productive learning has been recording my own practice. It's shocking. I thought I was doing one thing and I was doing something completely different. So anyway, now Valerio, hi, nice to have you here today. I'm 43, so I work for 2 years on pulled chest exercise. Now I'm in mixed exercise and it's working very well. Thanks so much, Valerio. Awesome. That's a little testimonial. And so here's the thing, you guys. The pulled chest, high larynx exercises are going to help counteract your tendency to pull the chest voice up and to have the larynx go high. So why does it hurt high notes? Why does pulling the chest voice up? Because there are plenty of teachers who recommend that you just pull the chest voice. And I would say that it would be inadvisable to do that because what happens is, let me point out, why do teachers teach students to pull the chest voice? It's because it gives them a big sound fast, okay? Yeah, there's some straining. It's kind of yelly, but it's loud, and they want to have a loud voice. Now, I think that that's short-sighted because this is probably the number one reason why people have to have surgery on their voices. It's the number one reason why they get nodules. It's the number one reason why, singers I'm talking about, and the number one reason why they get a vocal hemorrhage is because of this vocal abuse. So pulling the chest voice all the time and doing high larynx with the pulled chest is a form of abuse of the voice. And so you get people who are always talking like this because they can't get their vocal cords together anymore. They've been screaming too long. They've been yelling too loud and long, and eventually they have vocal damage. And it's only repairable by surgery. And there is no guarantee you're going to be able to sing as well or sing like you would like to because you're having surgery. There are cases in point that we all know about. Julie Andrews, she had surgery, and surgery wasn't up to par with her hopes. So she stopped singing. And it's happened to others as well. There are others who've had multiple surgeries, and you can hear it in their voices. It's scratchy, and so so that's one reason why it hurts your high notes, because it causes vocal damage. And of course, um, we don't want that. We want to have our voices until we die, of old age, not die young, but of old age. And so we want to be able to. It's a if you've ever had a vocal problem, and I have, it's strenuous. It's a mental. I don't know how to describe it. You feel sad. You feel bad because all of a sudden you begin to doubt whether or not you're ever going to be able to do what you love, sing and perform. And because you know that if your voice doesn't recover, you're not going to be able to do it. And then if you're making a living doing it, then what do you do? So this is really, really an important topic, because we don't want to do the kind of singing that will cause vocal damage or shorten your career. And by shorten your career, I'm not talking about, the last 5 years or something. I'm saying that you could be singing for another 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, depending on when you've damaged your voice. And so it's just something that we want to really care for. All right, so why does this pulled up chest voice, why does it hurt your high notes? If we're all the time, so here's what happens. We start out singing and we just don't know how to sing high notes. Like Muhammad right now today is talking about wanting to really establish, his mix in his head voice, and many others of us. So as we sing higher, at first, when we're just learning, the only thing we figure out is to kind of do it harder. Because it works. Or we kind of squeeze we kind of reach up high. You see that all the time with kids, especially, who are trying to sing high, stretching their neck up and trying to hit the high notes. And that's pulling the chest voice up and the larynx. And so what happens when that happens? You can feel it. If you just do it, you can feel what happens. There are outer muscles that start to act as a cinch around your neck, and they start squeezing in. Put your hand on your Adam's apple and swallow. Go ahead, put your hand right there on your Adam's apple, and ladies, you might have to kind of trace it down and feel that little bump and swallow. It goes up when you swallow. When we start to pull the larynx up, or pull the chest voice and the larynx coming up too, and we're straining for the higher notes, we're going in to swallowing mode. The larynx is going up. And if you tried to vocalize while that happens, it just cuts off the sound. It cuts off the, the air is cut off. And so if the epiglottis closes, which it does whenever you swallow, closes over the vocal folds, over the cords, then there's no air that's going to be allowed to come through, because it's closing up so that the food can pass down through the esophagus. And then you can't make any sound. But there's what else is happening? As the larynx is being pulled up, these muscles are engaging and pulling the larynx up. Now, when we're singing and we're trying to make a big sound, and we get louder and louder, guess what else is happening? If I get louder, now the vocal cords are holding back more strenuously this large amount of air that I'm pushing forward. So right away that engages more muscle around the cord structure, because it's holding back more and more of the air. And so now I've got this fight. I've got more muscle in the voice working to hold back the air. Otherwise, it just blows the vocal cords apart. And so it increases more tension around my voice. So it increases tension. It increases your the strain, the squeeze from the outside muscles. Has anybody ever experienced that before? All right, so let me take a couple comments. Looks like you guys are helping each other with some apps. Bruce says, thank you, Chuck. Your channel's a gem here. I have seen so many people hating on SLS, but it is and sounds much better than straining. Yeah, Percy, so, you know, most of the time I just kind of dismiss that. They don't really know it intimately and hear. You know, I guess they don't believe that, you know, Barbara Streisand or Josh Groban or Natalie Cole or, you know, Madonna or, I don't know, just, you know, Bette Midler, Bernadette Peters, on and on, Stevie Wonder, you know, any of these people are that good. I didn't teach them, but Seth Riggs did. And he's the designer and creator of this technique. And I think that his work speaks for itself. Now, what we teachers come up with and put out there, you know, maybe it's probably not as, in some instances, not as good as what Seth has done. But that doesn't mean it's the technique. I'll accept responsibility for that. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, getting to be a better teacher. But here's the thing. It's made a difference in my voice, I got to tell you. First of all, and that's what this is, this information today, where why does pulled chest and high larynx hurt, is these exercises counteract that so that you don't squeeze, you don't pull up, and you don't go into falsetto. You don't strain, you don't reach. And that's a tremendously powerful ability. So instead of saying ah and kind of yelling it up, now I'm able to say ah and so forth, without it cracking, without it breaking, without having to yell, without having to squeeze, reach up. And so I don't know how to describe. So I can get those high notes. I can get up in my head voice without reaching and without pulling up the chest voice, without the larynx hiking up. Now, it took me a while to be able to do that, I admit it, but the results has been so beneficial to my singing and beneficial to what I want to do, and that's theater. So if I said, mom, 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 that's gotten a lot stronger through the years. Not because I yelled it all this time, and finally it got strong or stronger, or it suddenly got less reachy or pulley. I just tried to stay with the technique to keep the larynx down. Now, so why that works is if the larynx stays down, we don't go into swallowing mode. So that doesn't start the squeezing, doesn't start the pinching. As long as I'm singing with a high larynx and kind of pulling my chest voice up, I'm never going to be able to find that. So I'm going to have, I'm not going to have the ability to sing these high notes without straining. Ma, 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 ma. That's the B flat. I would have never guessed that I could ever do that in a million years when I was 43 years old until I found out about this. Let me back up a little bit and catch. Hey, Devish, nice to have you here today. Is the goal of training our head voice to finally have it sound similar to our chest voice? Thanks a lot. You know, Devish, I think it's always going to sound a little bit different because it's vibrating in a different place. But, you know, it's going to be, and it's not going to sound there are different overtones that just simply aren't there, that are there in chest. Ah, ah. So it's the same voice, ma 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 ma, but there's different overtones. So it's not going to necessarily sound the same because it's a different place where it's vibrating and there are different overtones that kick in. But it should feel the same. It should sound like the same person, and there should be the same kind of production. In other words, I'm not saying mum 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 whatever. So yeah, it should feel the same. Mum 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 mum. I can't quite get that one. That's the high G, the G5. So that's just kind of playing. But yeah, so in a way, we're trying to get it to all sound like one voice. Ma 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 ma. That's the A, the A4, and so, I think that sounds pretty. Those all sound pretty similar, but if I were pulling the chest voice, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would have to go into falsetto. And so it hurts your high notes to pull the chest voice because of the squeezing and the reaching, those extrinsic muscles that have nothing to do with production of the tone, which is the vocal cords. These outer extrinsic muscles that don't participate in the function of tone production, they start squeezing and they start inhibiting my vocal cords from doing their job. I need to stay out of the way. These muscles need to stay away from my vocal cords, and then they can start to function. Now, we don't have to always do it loud. Mum, 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 mum. So we want to be able to, that's a whole nother ability, but when you stop pulling chest and the larynx stays down, you have the ability to do it softer. Mum, 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 mum. So that wasn't exactly as smooth as I like it because of the little bit of reflux I've got going on, but it didn't break in the falsetto. So, when you stop, the problem with pulling chest voice and why it hurts high notes is you don't have the ability to do that. If you go soft, then it cracks or breaks. But when you learn to keep the larynx down, then you're enabled to be able to do the loud to soft to loud. I think they call that messa voce. So let me get a couple other comments here. So Devish, in a way, I think it's we want our voice to sound all like one voice. I have heard people sing in their head voice, and it sounds like there's somebody else singing. So, they're down in here, and then they're up here, and I don't know what they're doing. And anyway, I have heard one voice sound like two different people. So I think that we want it to sound like ourselves for sure. Thiago says, I still don't sing the G4. Well, that's okay, Thiago. How many weeks have you been working on it? Or how many years? And you're still 19. You'll get it. Remember, it's not that you can't sing the G4. is you can't keep the larynx down yet. You got to remember, it's all a function, a physical function. That's all. So we just got to keep working on getting that larynx down and not reaching up. That's what's preventing any of us from doing this. So Thiago is a good case in point. He can't hit a G4. Why? Because the larynx is coming up and it squeezes it. And because the squeeze is there and the pinching, then it cuts it off, or it cracks or breaks in the falsetto. And that's the same for all of us. If we can't do it, it's because a physical thing is not happening. And in this case, the larynx is coming up instead of staying down where we speak. Andy says, what difference does it make to use your guts when you sing? I'm guessing, Andy, you're referring to like breathing from the tummy, allowing the diaphragm to drop and air to come in, and then kind of pulling your tummy in a little bit. And I think that, and if anybody has a question about that, you can go to my website and just put in there on the far right, just search the video breath control and watch episode 15. It's about diaphragmatic breathing. So Andy, what it does do is it gives you a little bit more solid or consistent airflow, I think, and that gives something that the vocal cords can kind of play better with. The cords can kind of lean against that airflow a little more consistently, and it just gives you a little bit more solidity, especially on the higher notes, but also it gives you a nice airflow even down in your lower range. And so you can have longer phrases, smoother phrases. You don't run out of breath. And so I think there are some benefits like that are very helpful, that are very important. Debbie says, and also, is there any relation between the ability to sing very low automatically making you sing very high because of it? Yeah, the relationship is, Debbie, is the larynx. If your larynx is low, your notes, your low notes are going to be easier to sing, and you're going to be able to sing to the bottom of your range. If your larynx is up, then you lose some of your bottom notes. Like for me, if my larynx is up, I'm able to sing the E today. And and I know that I always have an E. But I've been in theater productions before where I'm in ensemble, and I tend to oversing sometimes when I'm in the ensemble. I'm singing too loud, because I want to hear myself and not the people around me. So the quality of your high notes, the better your high notes, the better your low notes. Because the better your high notes, it means the larynx is down. And if your larynx is down, your low notes are going to be better too. No name animator. Hey, how you doing? Do the T-pose. I'm sorry, I don't know what T-pose is. And Devox, hi. R to you. Do you have a question? Muhammad, I didn't get the answer. You say that 20 is the end of the vocal change. No, not necessarily, Muhammad. I say it could be why for you there was some, I can't remember what your first comment was, but I think it's not just a vocal change that we're talking about. It's the hormonal changes that are going on in us guys for those periods of time in our lives, and that affects the voice. So I found, though, my experience has been that when some of my guys have come back at age 21 or 22, their voices are much more settled. I don't think that could be I'm not saying that's a scientific proven fact, but anecdotally that's been the case in my experience. Because some coaches say that now I'm 20, I can sing in mix on G4 easily, and the next year, the end of vocal change. I don't think that has anything to do with your age in terms of singing in your mix. other than it can be a little easier to keep the larynx down as you get older. That's all. I have a 15-year-old in my studio yesterday who's going through his vocal change. He's a very good singer, and he's starting to mix really nicely. But we're still working on keeping that larynx down. And it's different. Mohammed, it's different for all of us guys. Some guys don't find that it's the case. Thiago here, he's 19, and he's having a hard time on the G4. Other guys, you know, it happens easier for them. And it depends on how high the larynx is coming up and how deep the voice is. I find that the deeper voices are harder. The young man I just mentioned, he's a tenor. And I have another young man here who's 16, and he's got a low D, and it's harder to work for him. He's getting it, though. He's getting it. Melody says, hi, or it says, I think the end of the vocal change has a lot to do with when it's let me see, Melody, I just scrolled up too high. The end of the vocal change has a lot to do with when it starts. The absolute end would be different for every man. Great point, Melody. I think that makes a lot of sense. Luez, hi, I have that pulled chest. Join the club. Mohammed, I will be able to sing in mix on A4 or higher easier, and it's because of vocal change. Do you believe in this? I will be able to sing in mix on A4 or higher easier, and it's because of the vocal change. Do you believe in this? And should I wait a year or more to sing higher notes easier? Mohammed, here's what the thing is. If you were 15, I would say, let's start doing exercises that get the larynx down. Because as soon as we get that larynx down and the voice gets used to, and we're allowing the vibration to move in our heads, then we can start the mix. But for the young men, ages 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, it's kind of what nature gives you. Some guys are it just breaks no matter what we do. And some guys, we start getting it not to break, and they're able to, start getting some mix going. I would think by now for you should be well into your mixed voice, and it should be, getting easier and easier for you by now, and it's going to get more so in a year or so, as you continue to get a little bit older. Melody says it really hurts and it's frustrating. My throat would hurt for hours after choir practice. Yeah. Alain, so we really can damage our voices with the pulled chest thing. And that damages our high notes, you guys, in a big way. Okay. So some more comments. Alan, let me see here if I can get my software to get out of the way so I can see the questions. All right, it's not going to do it that way, so let me just do it this way. Not going to do it that way either. Okay. Alan says, hi Chuck, I'm pulled chest high larynx, and I've done your exercises, and now I'm experiencing mix. Awesome, Alan. So you guys, if you haven't tried those, the idea is that the exercises counteract the tendency for the larynx to come up. So we do exercises to get the larynx down. Or we do exercises to connect the pitch so that it doesn't crack into falsetto. And that's why those exercises are so good. And the same thing is true with light chest, no chest. Those exercises are designed to get the chords to come together more firmly. And flip falsetto, the same thing, to get the chords to stay adducted instead of just letting go in the falsetto. And mix to build and challenge and develop your mix. And for people who don't have the pulled chest, high larynx condition. So great. Alan, thank you for that comment. Are there recording artists with that pulled chest with a low larynx? Is that even possible? I don't think so, Devox. I've never heard anybody pull chest voice with a low larynx. Um, Louise, Sardis, hi, I'm working on developing my mix, but I cannot connect to my, okay, I'm working on developing my mix, but I cannot connect it to my chest voice. I sound too soft. I can take it to a G3, but not lower than that. What can I do to add more chest weight to it? So Louise, or Lewis, um, the quick answer is make sure that you're doing the exercises exactly as demonstrated. It sounds like the larynx may be coming up more than you think. Because if the larynx stays down, then the voice starts to come together. You start being able to blend back and forth. Now, I guess my next question would be, how old are you, Louise? If you're still in your teens and you're going through vocal change, that's all kind of that throws another wrench in the works. But one way to keep the larynx down and to really start to blend your voice together is to do that dopey gee. Gee, 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 gee. And don't just wait till you get up high to go to the dopey. Go be right from the beginning. Gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. And you can lean into that hooty sound. Gee, 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 gee. That's going to get the larynx down. Now, eventually, you don't have to use that dopey sound. Once the larynx gets retrained and you develop new muscle memory, then you can back off of the dopey sound. Just gradually, keep it a litlittle bit dopey. Ma 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 until it gets pretty normal. But the larynx is staying down. I didn't say ma 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 ma. Well, I got to that by getting used to that gee. Gee, 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 gee. Because the larynx wants to go up at first. Gee, 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 gee. It just wants to go up and help to reach that high note. So the dopey gee helps keep the larynx out of it and retrains your nervous system. So now you know you can say so F sharp 5, or F sharp 5. So the exercises are designed to help counteract what we tend to have done all our lives until we get a new muscle memory. And then once the larynx starts staying down, then we go more and more towards normal. And that's what's going to lead us to a nice, great, awesome head voice that sounds really, really normal, but not pulled, and the larynx is staying down. Okay, I got to get caught up on some comments here, you guys. These are really great comments today. Hey, Ryo, nice to have you here today. Tsuda. There's a note that I have to sing in a solo of mine, which is a G sharp 4. And I recently started using my mix from your videos, and it's on an ah vowel, but it doesn't sound as open as I want it to. When I used, it doesn't sound as open as you want it to. So, Ryo, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by open. If you open it too wide, it might crack on you. And so, but one way to stay in your mix on a more open vowel is to cheat on it a little bit, and let's just say it's let me see, it's on an ah. So if I said what would a word be on ah? Oh, let me see. Started using my mix from your videos, and it's on an ah vowel, but it doesn't sound as open as I want it to. Well, if I said ma 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 ma, if that's not if that's too much and not enough then I can use the to get it in my mix, and then if I open it slightly, it can go to as long as I keep the in that smaller place. So if I said ma 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 ma, so I can sing but it's in the feeling. It's in a smaller place. Now it's possible, Ryo, but it took me about 15 years to do that. So it took Pavarotti 10 years, so I don't feel so bad. It might take you a little while to develop that ability. When I used to pull my chest voice a little, not too strained for me, it sounded very open and beautiful, but not as technically sustainable. Any adjustments on how to open up this vowel in my mix? Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to say no 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 no, but you got to sing the in the feeling. No 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 no. So I can sing that in fairly open feeling in the narrower place. No 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 no. But again, it took me about, in all honesty, probably about 11 to 12 years to be able to do that. So, but that's how you do it. You sing the open vowel in the narrow place. No 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 no, as opposed to no 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 no. If you do that, you're just going to build pulled up chest. Devish, wow, we've been taught the opposite, Indian music. Wow, we've been taught the opposite, Indian music. I.e., people say don't care about singing high, focus on your low notes first thing in the morning, and your high notes will grow automatically. Huh, interesting. Yeah, no, I'm not talking about sound or anything like that. I'm talking about keeping the larynx down. With the larynx down, everything starts to come together for you, both high and low notes. So rather than focusing on a low note or a high note, I focus on the condition of the vocal, of the larynx. Not necessarily on high notes and low notes, but just, is the larynx down or is it up? And by working on keeping the larynx down, everything else comes into play. Everything starts working. Andy says, you should have 1 million subscribers. Hey, Andy, I like the way you think. Thank you. Oh, my gosh, is it 3 o'clock already? Oh, wow. I got to blast through some of these comments, and then we'll be done. Because I want to get everybody's comments here. So, thanks, Andy. Godliev, nice to have you here. Hi, Chuck. What is the best way to hum to engage the buzz without using the larynx to kickstart the hum? Another view, how to engage the dog whimper at the higher range above the passaggio. Thanks. So I would say try something like this. Mm-mm. Uh-uh. Mm-mm. Uh-uh. 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 So you start to kind of do that but start raising the pitch. Uh-uh. 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 Ma, 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 ma. So that's one way to kind of get that little cry in your voice. Just do that and keep raising the pitch on it. On the hum, you could do a long scale and just say and the larynx is staying down. It's, or you could try it on ing sound. Sing. or Ming. Ming. So try the ing, Ming, or just hum and do the 1.5 scale and try that little see if that helps you. Valerio, usually in a live concert, I used to pull chest the higher part of the songs. The result is that at the end of the concert, I had more tension and couldn't reach the low note. Yeah. Yep, right on, Valerio. I know what you mean. Percy says, I believe to sing higher, you also have to not think about it. Overthinking about it stresses the body. Good point. I think, in fact, it's even better if you, in addition to what you're saying, Percy, and I agree, think down. Pretend like the notes are going lower. Instead of up, think down. Think down and you have to reach down to get those notes. If you're going to reach down. Davish says, like we hold the lowest attainable note for as long as we can of the deep breath first thing in the morning. We're fortunate you're doing what you are for us. Thank you. Stay happy and healthy. Thank you. And you too, Davish. 28 from India. Extremely sleepy, but I'm up. Wow, Davish, what time is it over there? You're a trooper. Thanks for being with us today. And thanks for your great comments. No name animator. Good evening, sir. Can you please T-pose? I'm sorry, guys. I need somebody to interpret T-pose. I just don't know what T-pose means. Luis, thank you for your answer. I guess you just answered another question that I had, and it was how to take what you do on the exercises and bring them to singing. Okay, yeah. The answer is I have to keep doing the exercises so my nervous system adapts to it, and it will become something normal. Yeah, that's it exactly. And it will. It will definitely, the larynx will begin staying down, and you can go more and more normal. If it starts to come up, you add a little bit of the dopey sound again. And so that's how you use those exercises to retrain your nervous system and new muscle memory. Great comment. Ryo says it's probably going to be a while just before you see this comment. Thank you. I will just keep practicing the placement on my ah. Your videos are actually amazing, and I was able to find my mix. Thanks, Ryo. Appreciate it. Mohammed says, you say that high larynx shouldn't be used, controlled. It's a color of voice. You know, I think the high larynx, manipulating the high larynx is a fast way to cheat it, but I don't think in the long run it's the best thing to do. Yeah, there are a lot of people who teach a high larynx mix and other kinds of high larynx things, but I don't think you need it. I think if you learn how to do it and keep the larynx down, that in the long run it's going to be a better sound. And what does color it, though, is the genre of music and the words and the emotion and feeling, and you can use that to make this the kind of emotion and feeling that you want, rather than manipulating the larynx. Keep it down where you speak. In my humble opinion, Percy says T-pose means that you put your arms in a way that your whole body looks like a letter T. T-pose. I don't really understand why that's something that I would do when I sing, unless I'm like my big finish. Somebody else could do it. Samuel Wedgeworth. Hey, Samuel, nice to have you here. How much correct practice before you can control the larynx? First time I ever did this exercise. Larynx stayed down. I went into my head voice. Blew me away. I couldn't believe it. So it took 5 seconds of that exercise, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it worked. And so as far as it being long-term, you know, I started singing and doing better within probably 3 or 4 months, I started getting some, well, let me see. I have a recording of myself singing for Mr. Seth Riggs, and this was like 9 months, or let me see, 6, 7, 8, maybe like 8 months or so, and I still pulled chest a little bit. I spread a vowel, so I wasn't quite there in 9 months. I just didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't know. I opened my vowel, and so it ended up pulling up chest a little bit. I would say that the larynx it was only an E. I said, ah. So I spread the vowel. So chest got pulled up a little bit, larynx went up a little bit, but so it took me, well, right there, Seth helped me, and I was able to hit the A flat without pulling. So, but to be consistent on my own, it took me over a year, probably. But I'm slow. It shouldn't take you that long. You can do it sooner than that. Melody, I think depending on the range of the song might affect when you switch into head voice. There might be some instances that holding chest voice would work. Well, you guys, actually, for the men, the chest voice begins on the G4. For women, the chest voice ends on the, let me rephrase that. The G4, the head voice begins. The G4 is where head voice begins for the men, and the G5 is really where head voice begins for women. So they've got a little bit more of that middle range before they're actually in just head voice. Debbie says the best time to do dopey exercises? Anytime. I hope I'm not nagging. No, anytime, Debbie. I think it's a great early morning exercise. And the tongue trill really is great. The tongue trill is always awesome. Bubble lip. It keeps the larynx down. It's a great exercise. Last one, I've been doing vocal exercise for 3 years now. Should we practice daily? If yes, how many sessions a day ideally? I think if you practice once a day, it's going to be awesome if you're practicing correctly. Maybe even better is 15 minutes in the midday and 15 minutes later on in the afternoon. Break it up into different sessions. I've heard Mr. Riggs say that when he was on tour with Michael Jackson, I'm not sure whether it was the Bad tour or Thriller, but he would vocalize him like at noon for like an hour or something, and then he would do it again at 5 for 45 minutes, and then he would vocalize him a third time for like 20, 30 minutes or something like that before he went on stage. So he did like 3 times. Every day they did that while he was on tour. Kept him tuned up like a Ferrari is what the producer said. Okay, so we got to draw this to a close, you guys. Thanks for your great comments. We've gone about actually 20 minutes over the published time here. Debbie says I got to one last thing. Vocal exercise for 3. Okay, Samuel. Hi, Samuel. How long did it take you practicing exercises till you felt control of your own larynx? I don't think I really understood at first that I was trying to control the larynx. But I would say that at this 8th-month period, I at least wasn't grabbing and squeezing it. So I would say probably, within 6 to 8 months for me, it got easier. Now, I could do it in exercises. I should say that in my exercises, it was like, I could start doing those. And I would say within 3 months, I was doing the exercises well. But it took me longer to in doing it with the songs. And I don't know that I'm perfect still, but, a lot better. Okay, guys, how much exercise in a day and a week do you advise? Okay, so I would just say, if you're like for me, if I'm in a show, I do exercises once a day. And if I'm performing, So the question is, how long should you do your exercises? You're practicing. If you're singing for an hour, practice an hour or a little bit longer. If you're doing 2 hour set, then practice an hour and then do a second hour like you maybe would in your performance. But typically, if you're just doing if you're doing exercises correctly once a day for like 30 minutes, I think you're maintaining, really good habit. And you could do that maybe twice a day, 15 minutes to 30 minutes or 20 minutes twice a day. It's going to be of value to you if you're doing them correctly. So there's no harm in that. And I think you can really get some great benefit. Maybe the second time would be more of singing, depending on where you're at in your progress. Thanks, everybody. 3:12, or an hour and 12 minutes into this. So thank you for joining me today. Great discussion. I hope that you come to get a sense of why the pull chest high larynx hurts. It just, with that pull, all the muscles engage and everything gets squeezed. And we don't really want to have that in our singing. It can cut our voices, our careers short with the use of our voices, and we want to be able to have them last for a long time. And investing time and investing your talent and your ability in mindful and deliberate practice in the way that these exercises are designed to do will pay you dividends big time in the long run. And they will really deliver for you your ability to do what you want with your voice. Thanks, and I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, number 146, I think. It might be 7. I'm going to have to check. I'll put that on this after the fact. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you inside the next video, okay? And we'll stop our streaming as right now. Take care.